Hello, and welcome back to another installment of Operation Movie Cafe.
The episode you've all been waiting for, as we're gigantic fans of Dane DeHaan, modern James Dean,
Yes.
speaker of the generation.
So the two movies we have seen over the past week have been Dunkirk and Valerian in the City of a Thousand Planets.
I also saw Girls Trip.
We'll talk about that later. So I think first off, we'll start with Dunkirk. So Dunkirk is the story of, I think it was 400,000 soldiers who were abandoned, basically, or who were trapped and pinned down on this beach in Dunkirk, France. And the story is told kind of in a disarrayed order. Like, it's one scene will be a lot farther in the past in time, while another scene is what is currently happening in the movie.
I believe it's told from three perspectives: the
Three
land,
different perspectives, yeah.
the sea, and the air.
Yeah. So
Not I believe. I know that. I saw the movie.
so what were your thoughts on?
Well, immediately, Christopher Nolan, I don't know the cinematographer. I don't know if he uses the same guy every time.
Yeah.
But he has a very profound visual style.
He always has very strong cinematographers in other projects. He has.
You can obviously see that, in my opinion, The Dark Knight and Interstellar is even just crazy cinematography. And I haven't seen Inception, but
There is some great camera work in that. Obviously, the
Yeah.
hallway fight scene is really
that's
known.
all practical, right?
It is all practical,
Yeah.
but like the mechanism they had set around the camera was great.
Yeah. But yeah, the first shot is immediately like your eyes are glued to the screen. And the only problems I had with this movie definitely have nothing to do with the technical side.
Oh, most definitely not.
I think it's completely
it's a
flawless,
great technically
technically.
it's a brilliant movie. It really is. I mean, the cinematography, like we said, is amazing. The sound design is great.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is, it's your basic,
Yeah, very Christopher Nolan.
very Christopher Nolan-esque, but that's not always,
It's not Hans Zimmer, is it?
I think it is.
Oh, it is.
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but
Hans Zimmer does great scores, but they're not always great movies.
yeah.
He's a hit or miss, I guess.
The color of this movie is actually pretty good.
Yeah, the grading is really... It stands out.
Yeah, because, there are other, obviously, war movies that have come out in the past. I think most notably was probably Hacksaw Ridge. That movie had all right colors, but when you got into the war sequences, it was really gray.
I was going to say there's a lot of... Probably the most prominent issue with colors in war movies is they try and paint this, bleak image of war, and obviously it is.
Yeah.
But it's always very gray or very brown, and
Yeah.
Nolan knows how to make kind of matte colors very bright and vibrant.
Well, and also, it shows the area of the land. Like, it really seems like France, because they have all these different architectures and colors that you wouldn't see in, an American area.
Was this shot in IMAX? I know a lot of his movies are, but it looked like it at least.
I think it might be.
Because it was very, very intense and had a scope to it.
Yeah.
Was it just our theater that had it, it was, played, there was... It was kind of zoomed in, there was giant black borders around the screen.
I think it might.
I feel like it was just our theater.
It could be, but I don't know. I think overall I thoroughly enjoyed the film. I thought that a lot of the acting was really great.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised by Harry Styles' performance. I wasn't expecting much from him, to be honest, but...
Yeah, once I knew he was in the film, but once I saw him appear, I got a little nervous.
Yeah.
But Tom Hardy hasn't given a lot to do.
But he's actually really good in the role.
Very good. And also, you don't even see his face for most of the movie. Mm-hmm. And for that, you don't see his face at all in, The Dark Knight Rises or anything. But
I'll give Nolan credit for something. Tom Hardy, you can actually hear what he's saying in this movie compared to some of the other movies.
Probably all of his movies.
Probably.
I never know what his voice sounds like.
Yeah, no, you could just name any of his movies,
Bane,
Mad Max,
Lawless.
you don't really
I
notice.
literally don't know what he's saying in any of them. And I haven't gotten far enough into Inception where I hear him talk.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, the rest of the acting was good. Mark Rylance was really good. There was one part of the movie that I didn't really like. I guess now we'll get into spoilers.
Yeah. Well.
And that's when that boy just died from falling down the stairs. I thought that was like...
Yeah.
Eh.
I don't know, like, the truth behind the true story.
But, like,
I don't...
do you think they're, like, the essential part of
Yeah.
Dunkirk was this boy got thrown down a staircase and died?
But there was a really good scene in that was with,
The friend, or...
he's like, be careful with him, be careful with him. And then Harry Styles is like, he's dead, mate. And he's like, yeah, be careful with him. Like,
Yeah.
that was a good scene.
I also... One thing I really liked was, the way that they treated it with, is it Cillian Murphy?
Cillian Murphy, I think.
But I really liked the way, because you could see he, like, obviously felt terrible about it, and I liked how they never told him that he did die.
Yeah.
Like, that was, I don't know why, it was just
Cillian
kind of...
Murphy kind of did great in the movie.
He really was, because he truthfully portrayed that actor, like, or not that actor, he truthfully portrayed that role of, like, someone who has seen a lot of shit, and they don't know, like, they really don't want to go back.
Yeah.
And they just want to, just go home. Yeah, he was great in the movie.
The main kid, he doesn't talk a lot, but I've never seen him in anything.
Yeah, no, that's
He's
one thing I
pretty
liked
good.
about this movie, is there was a lot of, like, kind of unknowns. Like, obviously you had your bigger actors,
Hardy
Tom Hardy, Cillian
Was
Murphy.
it Kenneth Branagh in it?
I think so. But, like, the main cast, for the most part, is pretty unknown people.
Yeah.
Which I liked that a lot.
And it was a gamble giving Harry Styles this role.
Yeah.
I mean, he had to have auditioned, but...
I think it kind of gives to the, like, the authentic feel of the movie. Like, you've never seen any of these people's faces before, so they kind of do seem more like soldiers in that aspect.
True. There was also a very thrilling scene toward the beginning where they were bringing that body to the ship, and they had to race against the ship, like, departing. That was kind of intense. Just some of, like, the cinematography's truly brilliant, and, like, showing the land and showing, like, it'll kind of do a lot of, like, aerial shots of, a sinking ship or, like, the oil spilling into the water. I guess I'll get into my, like, gripes with the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think a lot of people share this. Obviously, it's getting, like, near perfect reviews. I feel like this might just be a problem with war movies, that if you aren't super invested in, like, the history and, like, you kind of have, like, an idea of what was going on then. And, like, I do. Like, I know my, like, World War II and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like... you'll kind of lose focus sometimes when there's just extended periods where it's just not a lot of dialogue and stuff. And I think it kind of makes you not care as much about, like, certain groups in the movie. Like, you're kind of like, I wish they were going back to this group.
Well, yeah, I mean, I cared about the fighter pilots more than I honestly did about
and you don't see them a ton.
Yeah, that is one great part about the movie, is all of the fighter pilot, like, all of the dogfights in the air all look amazing. Because, like, he used real planes for those.
Yeah.
And obviously not when they crash, but, like,
Yeah.
that looks real. Like, a lot of that actually seemed like a real dogfight between these, like, planes. And you don't really see that a lot in war movies. It's mostly on-ground kind of stuff. But I really appreciated that.
Yeah. Like we said before, the technicality is not a miss in this film.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like what I was saying, just kind of like some of the narrative gets a little muddy, and like if you're not super into like that era, or you're not looking for a war movie, it's not just like to me this isn't like a game-changing war movie.
Yeah,
where I feel like Saving Private Ryan, even if you aren't super invested, there's enough like kind of banter between the guys and like fun. Even though it's really bleak, it's still like a fun kind of adventure.
That was something I felt is a lot of the land heroes, you couldn't really connect with them too much. I felt like obviously you could connect with their situation, like oh, they're in a terrible situation. If I was them, I would be like, having these kind of experiences. But besides that, they didn't really. I feel like a lot of the characters didn't have too much pulling me into them, but I don't know. I felt that the character development could have been a little stronger for certain characters, especially the main character. Like, you could see a lot of the movie was through his eyes, but I never really felt fully connected with him.
Yeah.
But I think those are my only kind of problems with the movie.
We instilled a new rating system this time. It's a must-see or a not must-see.
I would personally say it's a must-see.
I would say must-see as well.
Yeah.
Because I would recommend it to people.
I think, like, the technicality, like we said, like, we're nailing, really nailing in the technicality. But it is something to actually, to look at. It is a brilliant movie to look at.
Yeah. And just in general, like, I think if you like movies...
Yeah.
You'll like this movie.
And it's
like if you like the kind of side of movies that maybe most viewers don't really get into, like the way something's color graded or like the special effects or stuff like that. Nolan's always a big spectacle when it comes
I don't
to
think
that.
you'll ever walk out of a Nolan film and just say
that was
bad.
Horrible.
Yeah. I think you'll be fine. So
all right.
Now to the movie that we are thrilled to be talking about, and that movie is Valerian.
And the City of 1,000 Planets.
So, I'm gonna try to describe this movie as best as I can, but it's gonna be a doozy, to say the least. This movie, it opens with aliens I don't give a shit about.
Well, yeah, you can. I think it's trying to say, like,
yeah, I don't know.
This is a history of our space program, and it brings you into the future, and there's world leaders shaking each other's hands, but then they kind of morph into like alien world leaders shaking each other's hands.
And you see the city of 1,000 planets building up and whatnot over time. But anyway,
and it's also, I think this is the first movie I've seen since Bowie's death that used a Bowie song.
Yeah,
it says it's plays Space Oddity in the beginning.
Yeah, I think it might.
Great song. It's just the fucking worst movie.
We'll get into that, but so it starts with this whole sequence of world leaders and planet leaders and whatnot meeting together. Then it cuts to a scene of this planet of these other aliens I don't care about that are, saying their little hello, the Manoine. That was stupid, but anyway, we see the planet blow up, then a beam gets shot out, and Dane DeHaan wakes up. On a beach.
It shows Dane DeHaan's less than stellar back muscles.
He just looks like a little boy, and that's just
he's not a main character actor.
Yeah,
they try and give him like a Harrison Ford,
Han Solo,
or I'd say like more accurately like a Chris Pratt, style Star-Lord role.
But he's Dane DeHaan, like, he can't cast him in that. Anyway, okay, we're getting a little sidetracked from the plot, but, so then he meets up with Cara Delevingne, whose name is Laureline, and they're partners, and...
Based off the
comic book, Valerian and Laureline.
Which I think is, like, very highly praised in France.
Yeah, it's very well received in France.
I've never personally read any. I kind of looked into the lore a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find any bubbles in the lore.
That is another thing we'll get to. Okay. But so they go to this planet, and and Dane DeHaan, his hand goes to another dimension, and his hand sees
like the beginning is a world being destroyed, and Dane DeHaan gets a vision of the world being destroyed.
Yeah. So then him and Laureline have a mission to go do something. I don't even know what their mission was in the first place.
I don't know.
To bust some drug or like some arms dealer, but like you never
they're kind of
why.
Like bounty hunters, but like federal bounty hunters.
Yeah. So they go out, and Dane DeHaan meets up with this guy. He's like, "Put your hand in this box. It'll go to the other dimension." And then he's like, "All right." So he puts his hand in, and so his hand's in the other dimension, and his hand walks into the room where.
There's some interesting ideas in this movie.
Yeah.
They're just like the lore's fine. Like it's like
It's just the
trying to build-
execution's really bad.
And it just drops shit on you. Like, this dimension thing, like,
Yeah.
you as a listener are probably thinking, whoa, they just went from talking about bounty hunters to just dimensional travel. That's how it feels. Like, you
movie,
feel
yeah.
like
they're
you're just getting
put on
dropped.
these goggles, you will see this plain desert turn into this giant, like, 300-story city, and you're like, that doesn't
And
make
you don't,
sense.
I don't know which one exists.
You don't,
Like,
yeah,
are they
I don't-
both, like, are they dimensions?
They're dimensions, but, like, even dimensions aren't explained in the movie, which
Yeah.
you need to explain when exploring dimensions.
And, like, to a typical viewer, I'd say it more likely looks like a virtual reality than, like, a dimensional
But, like,
travel.
physical things exist in that virtual reality, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But that, maybe it was a thing in the comic, and they just didn't explain it in the comic or something. But, like, even then...
Yeah, and the thing is, we're not in France. Like, they're trying to
yeah.
market this movie to everybody. I'm like, when you go into an Iron Man movie, you don't have to know what the comic book said.
Yeah.
They kind of build the world. Or, like, in my opinion, I didn't see half the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
But when I went to, like, the fourth one after not seeing any of the other ones, I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And that's a very complex world. So it's like, it's possible.
And you missed 3 movies before that, but this movie is the first...
Yeah, and you could go into, like, Star Wars 7
Yeah.
and kind of get it.
Yeah, you'll be like, okay, here's the
And
new
you're
heroes,
missing-
old heroes.
Yeah, and
but,
you're missing fucking 6 movies.
But this movie doesn't make a lot of sense, to be completely honest. But, okay, so he gets to the other dimension. John Goodman is his alien there, and then...
He just looks like John Goodman.
And he's never seen from again, even though he says, I'll be back. That's besides the point. So he finds this pearl that he keeps, and it's the pearl he saw in his dream. I don't jump cut to a different time. I don't know.
It's really jumbled.
It's
like,
really-
and this is a kind of maybe a hint of how good this movie is. I genuinely thought after that opening like drug bust scene or whatever it was, arms deal or whatever.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought that was half the movie. Like I thought that it was half over, and
mean,
it's probably like 25 minutes.
This movie, it's an action like thriller adventure movie. Not thriller, but like action adventure movie.
Oh yeah, a thriller. I'd
Some
say.
like thriller parts, but like it's so boring.
Yeah,
It's-
it's sci-fi.
it's sci-fi.
It's building an alien world that's not like a rehash.
Yeah.
and that should be like new and exciting. It's so boring.
It's so boring. And okay, so first off, the costume design is awful.
Yeah,
it's
they just
so
look
bad.
like the two heroes. Their costume design were like classic, like spaceman
Suit,
outfits.
kind of, yeah.
In the comic,
Yeah.
and in this, that's kind of similar, but they just look like Bryan Singer's X-Men movie
Yeah.
costumes.
But like the costumes of everyone else, it's just like if you're an alien, you're just an alien. You said this, if you're an alien, you're just an alien. If you're not an alien, you have a weird hat. And
Yeah.
that's all this movie is. That's all the characters are in this movie.
Yeah, really, or like you got like tribal paint on your face.
Yeah.
Like if you look at J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movies, or even like the last one, which was Justin Lin, I think.
Yeah.
Or if you look at the Harry Potter movies or Guardians of the Galaxy, like all these movies with like really intense, and like any like Guillermo del Toro movie or something,
Yeah.
like there's intense costume design. And when you're thinking about a movie that you're not hearing this wrong, was made for $210 million, which is like almost how much The Avengers was made for. Fucking put money into the costumes. Put money into the cosmetics.
It's bad. Like, and even like the character designs of the aliens almost all look awful. Like they're
Yeah.
so uninteresting to look at.
Like those 3 little aliens that all
Yeah, the 3 little
they
duck
look like
aliens.
that flying alien in Phantom Menace.
It does, yeah. Watto or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And that's a disgusting design.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, we'll rip off that one.
And we won't make them blue, which was one of the interesting things. We'll make
Yeah.
them gray, and we'll make 3 of them.
Yeah, and they all have slightly different colored eyes.
Yeah. Like the John Goodman character looked awful.
He looked like one of the Star Wars
Yeah.
aliens from The Force
It's like
Awakens.
this movie really wanted. It seems like they took a lot of character design from Star Wars and they just made it
Yeah.
worse.
I think it's worth noting that Luc Besson, the director, has like grown up reading these comics,
Yeah.
right? And he directed a movie that it's like a passion project. And if you look at some passion projects, some have worked, some have not.
Yeah.
But like look at like Deadpool. Like
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds was like, I want to make this Deadpool movie for like 11 years.
Yeah.
And he never let them do it when it was horrible. Because after, obviously, like, X-Men Origins, he knew that it wasn't going to be, like, good that track.
Yeah.
But he waited, and he took what he can get, and he made, like or hate Deadpool, he made what he wanted, and obviously what fans wanted of the movie. And maybe that's exactly what this Luc Besson guy did, but it's not a good movie.
It's not a good movie.
And like I said, like or hate Deadpool, at least it's the vision.
Yeah.
And maybe it's his vision, but it's just bad.
But the movie's fundamentally, like, bad. Like,
Yeah.
the soundtrack, there's literally an oboe solo in this desert sequence.
I didn't even know that, so...
It's bad. It's literally just, like, oboe hitting random notes. It's really bad. The script is terrible.
I was about to say that the score was pop songs, but I'm thinking of Wish Upon.
That's Wish Upon. But yeah, like, the dialogue is so bad in this movie.
It's just, like... It doesn't make sense. I have some quotes
Yeah.
that, like... She'll just be walking around, and there will be, like, a little lizard creature, and she'll just look at it and be like, move, lizard. Like...
Well, there's a
like you could
sequence-
be like, oh, she takes no shit, and just show her like kick the lizard.
Yeah.
Or like in the beginning of Mad Max, he grabs that
And
lizard
eats
and
it.
eats it. You know, just something like she gives no shits. She just looks at it and says, "Move, lizard," because that's the perfect way to tell them lizard to move.
Well, there's a sequence where it's right after that. Like, the scene after that, she's talking to Valerian because she finds him, and they're talking, and mid, like, him talking to her, she looks, and she's like, pretty butterfly, and grabs a butterfly. Like, what is that shit? What are you throwing at us?
There's like a heavier set alien carrying her away. This is in the scene after that.
Yeah, this
And
is
she
scene
looks
after
at
that.
She looks at him and says, "Let me go, fatty." Like, it's just like there's no like personality to it.
And then the next scene after that, DANE DEHAAN gets lifted up, and he's like, sorry, I'm not edible, and then blows up an alien.
He blows up his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just like, it's just dumb dialogue. Not like, I know this is just the stereotypical movie to like name. Not like The Room dumb.
Yeah.
Where like it's just really dumb. Like it's, I think some of it's meant to be funny, but it just comes off laughably bad.
Yeah, it just comes off lazy.
Yeah.
Like, it just, like, you've never written a paper
Also,
in high
in
school
terms
or
of
something.
character, like, confusion, they don't know how to write a female character.
No.
Because they're trying to make it like if you've seen the trailer, there's that line where it's like, you've never met a woman before. And it's like, okay, you're trying to set up a gives no shit.
Yeah. And there's a character...
They did it better in 1977. Like, Princess Leia's more of like a strong female. And, and on the cover, she's on the hip of the main character. Like, and this girl, these are actual quotes. She says, "Oh, I need to take you shopping with me," to like a little like alien creature.
That made like multiple, like, just because it's this alien that you feed. Whatever you feed it, it
makes
will just,
more.
It will just shoot it out of its belly.
Yeah.
It'll just shoot out. And so she put a diamond earring in it, and then like a bunch of diamonds came out. So she's like, "Oh, I need to take you shopping."
And I know we kind of fucked up in terms of telling you the story, but it's just hard to like not go off on tangents here.
Yeah, there's so much that's wrong with it that you just have to.
And whenever she's in trouble, Valerian, that's all she says. And it's like, Dane DeHaan doesn't even play a strong male.
No.
So, like, the fact that she's even dependent on him in this movie is laughable. But the fact that she needs to be dependent on him is also just stupid.
Yeah, there's another scene where she says something like, "Oh, it ripped my dress," or "it ripped my skirt," or something like that.
"Oh, you destroyed my dress."
Yeah. She's not...
So, they get kind of, like, contracted to protect this prime minister because he's being hunted by an alien species.
The one that blew up.
Yeah, and it kind of, like, the major, I guess, spoilers, the major twist of the movie is that Clive Owen's, like, prime minister, I think he is actually the guy who destroyed the alien planet, and now the bad guys, quote, unquote, are actually the good guys.
It's so predictable. Like, the
but the point is, when you get to the twist, you don't care at all.
Yeah. No, I mean, this movie is so boring. I laid on the ground.
Yeah.
I got out of my seat and just laid down for like 2 minutes. And that was, what, 30 minutes in?
Yeah. I've had points where, like, I write notes about movies, but it's usually afterward, or I just like to talk about what I thought. I was so goddamn bored in this movie that I started writing notes in the movie and quoting my favorite lines.
Yeah.
And it was like every line. And a lot of them turned out being like, if you're not watching the movie, a lot of them aren't funny.
Yeah.
But like, just some of these quotes are just horrible.
Yeah. Well, and like, I hate leaving movies, like, while I'm watching it to either use the bathroom, grab snacks, stuff like that. I force myself to leave this movie to buy snacks.
Cause it is that bad.
It's so boring. We were so tempted. We almost left like 3 times in the movie, and it just gets worse, and that's the problem.
Yeah,
because
it does get worse, and it falls. And you hear these movies that are great. They're like, oh, the Avengers is great. Kind of falls apart in the main or the third act.
Yeah,
this movie falls apart in the third act, and it's just bad for the rest of it. Like,
yes. Like, it's boring, very boring in the first act. Second act, it gets, like, not as boring, because there's where you meet Ethan Hawke's character and Bubble.
Oh, Bubble.
And that's a good sequence. Not really, but it's just
Rihanna
funny.
is this, like, dancer alien, and she kind of, like, shapeshifts costumes.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, she's a performer. And then it just turns out she's a shape-shifting alien.
Yeah.
And so he's pretty smitten by her, Valerian is. So he uses her to disguise himself as an alien that captured Laureline, because of course he's saving Laureline.
Yeah, such a strong female lead right there.
And the problem with Valerian as a main character is when you look at characters like Valerian, if you think about it, he's this badass, don't care, bounty hunter, like, kind of Wild West type. And if you think about it, that's like every Kurt Russell character, every Harrison Ford character, like Chris Pratt's on the track to be that kind of character. But in all those movies, they have that kind of counterbalance. And they're usually not the main character. And if they are the main character, there's that, like, also main character or tons of side characters to bounce off of.
Yeah.
But he's not a presence. Like, when he's there, you don't feel like he's there.
Yeah.
And she's not that cool to bounce off of.
Well, and the problem is, like, they set him up to be, in the very beginning, he's like, what, you like a bad boy or something like that? But in the end of the movie, he's like, no, we can't do that. It's against guidelines of the military.
Yeah,
it's like, what kind of shit are you pulling? Like,
he's like, I'm the bad boy in the beginning. And then at the end, he's like, we're breaking the rules. I follow the rules. That's what makes me Valerian.
Yeah. Makes no sense.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the character motivations just conflicting all the time in this movie. It's that bad. Like, it's horrible.
Yeah.
And it's trying to be the next Avatar or the next, like, just those visual movies that... And it might be up for visuals at the Oscars.
But, like, there's sequences. Like, there's sequences that look good.
Yeah.
But then there's other sequences that look terrible.
Yeah. And it really is, like, good or horrible.
Like, because there's sequences like, wow,
that
that looks really good. That's a cool looking, like, because it would be like a spaceship or something. Like, that looks cool. You can see all the details in it. But then, like, there's a sequence where you'll see, like them in the setting with all these aliens. The aliens look awful, and then you can tell it's a green screen very obviously.
Yeah.
There's sometimes they can mask the green screen really well, but other times they cannot.
Yeah. Also, a lot of sequences in this movie, I feel like, were just copying off other sequences. Yeah. Like, there's a shot in this movie where it's kind of like an aerial, or not an aerial, but a space battle. And it looks exactly like Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah,
like,
the opening sequence, it looks.
And it doesn't look that much better, and that was 12 years ago.
Yeah, I think it looks better in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, maybe, honestly. But it's just in the wake of, like, the Star Wars resurgence, I think movies like Valerian don't have a space.
Yeah, well, I think one of the problems with the character of Valerian is I was gonna say the casting of Dane
I was
DeHaan.
gonna say it is Dane DeHaan. That's why it's bad.
Because the thing is, he can work in other roles, but it seems like when he's not the main character, it almost always works. I'll say almost, because it doesn't work in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But, like...
Because he's playing... Like, I think if he's playing the sympathetic, nerdy, like, pitiful character...
It works.
It works, like you were saying earlier.
Like, it works in Lawless and Chronicle.
Yeah. And he's the... I didn't even think about Chronicle, but he's the nerdy...
Yeah.
Like, you feel bad for him, but he's got a side to him.
And he's great in those movies.
Those movies are great, though.
But, like, when he's, like, kind of, like... trying to be sly and like cocky, it's awful.
Yeah, and he just comes off so tongue-in-cheek, but you know that he's not trying to make it tongue-in-cheek.
And he has the same monotone voice in all of his movies ever since
Valerian.
Yeah, ever since Lawless. So like Lawless was his last movie he put on like an actual different kind of voice for.
Yeah.
And then like it happened in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And then it got worse in A Cure for Wellness, and then it got worse in this.
I forgot about A Cure for Wellness.
But like he's just like, I'm Valerian.
It's just those lines though, like in A Cure for Wellness, he's like, "We have a plane for this hour, and I intend on catching it." And it's like you're trying to give him like sly dialogue, but it doesn't work.
Yeah, and then in this movie, he's like, I'm a bad boy, but I like to follow the rules.
I'm attractive.
That's a real line. I'm attractive.
In the beginning. Also, we should talk about the romance before we kind of wrap this up.
Yeah, the romance is terrible.
So it starts off kind of, he's like, "Hey, you clearly like me." And it's just that they're partners. And she says, "Your playlist has every girl on a playlist."
And another thing is, like, they're, like, basically shoving her boobs out of, like, her...
Yeah, they're, like,
bikini.
pushed up, and it's just, like, she's obviously attractive.
Yeah, she's attractive, but, like...
we don't need that. And that makes her so much less compelling as a character, especially a female character. And, like, she's like, "Your playlist has all the girls on it." And a playlist is, I think, every girl you've fucked?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, or
But I don't know
dated?
how that's a record. Like, is it, like, his own playlist, or he wrote down every girl's name?
And that's, like, another thing with, like, the Han Solo, like, Star-Lord type.
Yeah.
He's like, "I bang all the chicks." And she's like, "I want a man that'll delete his playlist for me." Don't you just want a man that doesn't have a playlist that's super long?
Yeah.
And then throughout the movie, he's like, "Will you marry me?"
He just says it. Like, it's not like a big thing, or like, you could see their chemistry. He's like, "Hey, will you marry me?" And you're just like, where'd that come from?
You also get the sense that they're just friends. Like,
yeah, like, it's not like
I think it might
they're
just
in
be
love.
It might just be because Dane DeHaan's so, like, schlubby and off-putting that you're like, oh, they're best friends because he's the gay best friend.
Exactly. I even said to you, like, I looked over, I'm like, this would never happen. Like, it wouldn't.
And not just because of looks. Like, he's not...
He has the most...
personality.
Yeah.
Like, his personality's not appealing.
It's like Kristen Stewart in Twilight. Like, those two would be a perfect couple.
Yeah,
Kristen Stewart and Dane DeHaan.
Make it
couple.
happen.
Next movie, Dane DeHaan's in.
Or just switch out Laureline for her.
Yeah. Or him for anyone else.
I think you're the same with me. I'm gonna give it a not must see.
Not must see. Most definitely. I think
It's horrible.
one thing we should talk about is because we love Dane DeHaan.
We do.
We love him. Like,
Because ever since A Cure for Wellness, we thought his performance was so, like, a miss. Like, where no one saw that movie, so no one will see that movie and see his performance.
you don't need to see the movie.
It's funny.
It's funny. It's the most confusing movie I've ever seen in my life.
We should talk about that in a different episode.
Definitely, we will. But it seems like his career is, it's going downhill for him, which, you know, I feel bad for him. Because, I've never seen Chronicle, but I've heard his performance in that movie is great.
I loved Chronicle.
Like, I hear it's amazing. I saw Lawless. And I think he's actually great in that movie. Like, he's really, really good.
I remember him being very sympathetic.
He's very sympathetic. He actually seems like he's that character.
And he's likable.
He's likable.
Which isn't the case in almost any of his movies.
Then we go to The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And it's bad.
I need your blood!
It's... I think everyone knows that performance from Dane DeHaan, so...
Yeah, and it's bad, but it's just, like, forgettable.
Yeah.
And he's not a star. He doesn't have mainstay. Like, he doesn't he's not a mainstay, and he doesn't have staying power in the way that like Chris Pratt right when he was off the and like I keep bringing up Chris Pratt, but he's like a modern superstar that kind of was like he's unlikable and he's kind of like not super attractive, and then they Hollywood him up.
Yeah,
you can't do that with Dane DeHaan.
Well, and the thing
they're
is,
trying.
yeah, they're trying, but like it seems like he doesn't want to.
Yeah,
because
I heard he's great in indie films. Like I don't know if that's true.
And he seems like a nice guy. Like I don't want to get across that we hate Dane DeHaan.
We love Dane.
We
DeHaan.
love Dane DeHaan.
He's just because this is the thing. I believe that he's in good indie movies, but I've seen enough of his performances that I can't believe that he's great in other things.
Yeah.
That isn't like the few things I've seen him great in. Maybe it is like if the writing's bad, he's bad.
Yeah.
But he doesn't like he's not likable.
And yeah, especially in A Cure
of,
for Wellness. He's really unlikable in that movie.
Yeah.
He's like just a major dick.
And it's weird when kind of because that movie's trying to be The Shining, you know, like that kind of like shit. But like even The Shining, you like Jack Nicholson at the beginning, and you kind of try and sympathize with him until the end. You're like, okay, obviously I can.
Yeah.
And you're like, he's still goddamn enjoyable to watch.
But Dane DeHaan was just so flat in that movie.
And he was awful from the beginning that there was no reason to... overall,
and this is the same with this movie. I mean, he's just really flat, not very enjoyable. Like Ian said, not must see.
Well, we made it.
Yeah.
The special.
The
Dane DeHaan special.
I mean, if you guys,
there any Dane DeHaan movies coming out soon?
If you guys want more Dane DeHaan episodes, we will do that.
We'll do it even if you don't goddamn want it.
Yeah. You'll get it. You'll get many Dane DeHaan episodes.
I saw Girls Trip. And
oh, yeah, you saw the Girls Trip.
Pretty good, actually. I heard that it was getting good reviews, and I was like, why?
Yeah.
And the funny thing about the movie is it's the kind of, like, this sounds kind of offensive, but, like, the black girls kind of, like, on their own little trip. There's, like, plenty of movies like that.
Yeah.
And
most of them Tyler Perry movies.
Yeah, they're most of them Tyler Perry movies. But, like, this movie kind of had the character to it, and everyone was likable, and a lot of the jokes landed, which I thought wasn't going to happen. But the funny thing is you hear this movie gets good reviews, and you're kind of like, oh, maybe it's got a different edge, or maybe there's, like, something special to it. No. It's literally exactly what you thought it would be, except all the jokes land. And I fucking liked it. I don't know, like... Maybe it was just the day I saw it or something. I'd recommend you see that, recommend you see Dunkirk, and if you're really looking to kill yourself, I recommend you see Valerian.
I mean, really, like, you know, we like to make fun of Valerian because it was really bad, but it truthfully was so boring to sit through.
Yeah.
I honestly would never watch Valerian again.
Me neither. And maybe that makes us bad at this job, but I'll never watch it again.
No, I have no reason to ever watch it.
Even on our Dane DeHaan episode, I'll just have to reach
just reach right in the... I'll definitely watch A Cure for Wellness again, but...
Yeah, that is a fun movie.
It's a fun movie.
You gotta do an episode.
If you have to watch A Cure for Wellness or Valerian, definitely go for A Cure for Wellness.
Yes.
You will have no idea what's happening.
Well, we've got 2 Dane DeHaan movies in the gullet for 2017.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a wintertime one. A Winter's Tale. With Dane DeHaan.
We can always hope.
I think that'll do it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
For Operation Movie Cafe, I'm Ian.
And I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dane DeHaan.